Something big is happening behind closed doors, and it's not just another routine diplomatic disagreement. Washington and Ottawa are no longer on the same page, and from the way it looks, the fallout could reshape everything from trade to defense cooperation. Something snapped between the two capitals, and no one's saying exactly what it was. But the signs are there, and they're impossible to ignore. Now, at first glance, the relationship between President Trump and Prime Minister Mark Carney seemed complicated, but manageable. Carney, the polished, economics-driven technocrat, and Trump, the hard-nosed dealmaker, found common ground on certain things, especially trade access and security coordination. But lately, it's like the two leaders are speaking entirely different languages. Ottawa's tone has shifted, Washington's patience has worn thin, and behind every press statement, there's a quiet tension that's been boiling for weeks. You might have noticed it too, the strange, awkward moments in press conferences, the sudden changes in diplomatic language, the missing U.S. officials in joint events. On paper, it's all friendly relations and mutual respect, but in reality, Washington has started to act like something's broken, and it's not sure if it can be fixed. Let's rewind a bit. It all started when Ottawa began pushing a new regional energy deal with several Pacific partners, a deal meant to attract Asian investment and reduce dependence on American infrastructure routes. Nothing unusual about that, right? Except for one thing, the U.S. wasn't invited to the early discussions. For Trump's White House, that was seen as more than a snub. It was a signal that Canada might be drifting toward a more independent economic posture, one that didn't automatically orbit around Washington. And just days later, something strange happened. A quiet order came down from the U.S. Department of Commerce, new review measures on Canadian exports, specifically targeting sectors tied to energy and technology. No official reason given. Just security concerns. Ottawa didn't comment at first, but insiders in the Prime Minister's office reportedly saw it as a deliberate shot across the bow, a warning that Washington was watching. From there, things spiraled fast. Meetings that were supposed to be friendly became tense. The Joint Trade Councils suddenly postponed their quarterly sessions for scheduling reasons. Diplomats on both sides started speaking off-record about trust issues. And the mood, once built on routine cooperation, turned icy. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Around the same time, several major American energy investors quietly began pulling out of Canadian projects. Billions in planned development, gone, with no clear explanation. Analysts try to frame it as a market adjustment, but it's hard to believe all that money vanished by coincidence. Someone somewhere gave a green or red light, and the pattern points straight back to Washington. And Carney? He's been measured, careful, almost too careful. His recent public comments mention new realities in global trade and the importance of sovereignty in decision-making. Now, that may sound like ordinary policy talk, but in diplomatic language, that's the equivalent of drawing a subtle line in the sand. He's not attacking Trump directly, but he's signaling that Canada won't be pressured into line, at least not without a fight. Meanwhile, Trump's tone has grown sharper. During a rally last week, he mentioned certain countries that take advantage of American deals and think we won't notice. He never named Canada, but everyone in the room knew who he meant. Washington insiders say the president's been frustrated by what he calls Ottawa's mixed messages, supporting U.S. policies one day, signing side deals the next. And yet, there's something deeper going on here. Something that goes beyond tariffs and trade meetings. You can feel it, like a silent breakdown in trust between two allies who used to finish each other's sentences. Some say it began with defense. The U.S. had been urging Canada to expand its military commitments in the Arctic, especially as Russian and Chinese presence in the region grew. But Ottawa hesitated. Carney wanted to focus on climate, diplomacy, and Arctic research, not weapons and deterrence. Trump, on the other hand, wanted hard power, ships, bases, assets. When Canada declined to match the scale of Washington's ambitions, the Pentagon reportedly took it as a sign that Ottawa was going soft on security. That's when the tone inside Washington started to shift from partnership to pressure. Suddenly, American media outlets began questioning whether Canada was pulling its weight. and the White House started floating vague statements about reviewing cross-border agreements. For those who follow the language of international relations, that's not just rhetoric. It's code for leverage. Now here's where the plot thickens. Not long after, sources claim a classified meeting took place between top U.S. trade officials and a group of Canadian industry executives, without any Canadian government representatives present. What was discussed remains secret, but the timing couldn't have been worse. Ottawa reportedly found out only after the fact, and inside the corridors of Parliament Hill, the mood turned from confusion to outrage. So, what happens next? That's the big question, and right now, no one seems to have a clear answer. The tone from both capitals has grown strangely quiet. No open confrontations, no fiery statements, just silence. And if you follow geopolitics, you know that silence is rarely a good sign. It's usually the moment before something big happens. Some insiders whisper that a private meeting between Carney and Trump could be coming soon, a final attempt to patch things up before this tension turns into something larger. Others say it's already too late, that both sides have drawn their lines, and the relationship has shifted into a new, uncertain phase. Either way, what's happening between Washington and Ottawa right now isn't normal. It's not routine diplomacy. It feels like a turning point, one that could decide whether Canada stays tightly bound to its southern neighbor or begins to carve out a more independent path on the world stage. And the truth is, both leaders have a lot to lose. For Carney, too much alignment with Trump risks alienating European and Asian partners he's been carefully courting. For Trump, losing control over Canada, politically or economically, would be a blow to his image as the man who redefined American power. So the standoff continues. Each side testing the other's limits. Each trying to see who will blink first. Maybe this ends quietly, with handshakes and smiles for the cameras. Or maybe, just maybe, this marks the start of a deeper realignment in North American politics, one where old alliances start to crack and new power centers begin to emerge. Whatever the case, one thing's for sure, what's unfolding right now between Washington and Ottawa is not business as usual. It's something bigger, something that could redefine how these two nations see each other for years to come. And the most unsettling part? No one, not even those inside the rooms where these decisions are being made, seems entirely sure how far this will go.